to an event for Arab Americans for Trump and Muslim Americans for Trump. We are here at a watch party in Dearborn, Michigan, the heart of Arab America, and we are delighted to see the early results coming in, showing that President Trump is going to be winning. We as a community are united in one against the murderous uh, Kamala Harris and the Biden administration. Their hands are soaked with the bloods of our people, and we have had enough. Our people in Gaza have had enough. Our people in Lebanon have had enough. Our people in Yemen, Iraq, Syria have had enough. We are all united behind President Trump. One, because he said that he stands for peace in the Middle East, a lasting peace in the Middle East. Two, because he said that he would stop the fighting in the Middle East. Three, because the Republican social values are faith-based like ours. We are close to the Republicans in that regard. And at the same time, President Trump is the only individual that someone, a monstrous individual like Bibi Netanyahu, fears. He is the only individual that Netanyahu fears. And in that regard, I believe when he says that he is going to make peace in the Middle East, he will do so. So I encourage those of, I know the polls have closed just about everywhere except probably in California and other places. If you're listening, please vote for Trump because he stands for peace while Harris stands for war. And now I would like to introduce Samra Lukman, the head of Muslim Americans for Trump.
Hi. So we are gathered today to, although we haven't received the full results, we are seeing the numbers coming back from the local southeastern Michigan area and communities with Arab Americans and Muslim Americans, and they are showing that Donald Trump is leading significantly amongst our community. We are also seeing that a lot of our community has voted for Stein as well in historic numbers. All of this goes to show that we are not going to be betrayed by the Democrats and still continue to give our votes. We are going to leave the Democratic Party if we need to, if our red lines are crossed. And our red line is genocide. For that reason, we have united, even as a diaspora of different ethnicities and different faiths, we have united together to say that we are not going to support genocide. We are not going to reward it with a second term. And whether you voted for Stein or voted for Trump, we are going to be united going forward to continue to hold whatever administration goes into power accountable for their actions as well. I'd like to introduce Mayor Bill Bazzi of Dearborn Heights to speak on his endorsement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. Hello, everyone. Again, I endorsed President Trump, and the reason why I endorsed President Trump is because from day one he's been talking about peace. He's been talking about ending the war. So one thing the community has in common and also united is trying to stop the war in the Middle East. Every one of us in the city, both Dearborn Heights and surrounding communities, we do have loved ones overseas that was impacted by the war. Me, myself, I had three of my cousins or their families were wiped out in a bombing less than a month ago, with 3 families just gone because of a bombardment. They have nothing to do with anything. They were just bombed and they're gone. They're not with us today. So that's something, it's just, for us, it's hard to take that we're just sitting here and nobody's doing anything about it from the current administration. Sleepy Joe, I call him Sloppy Joe because he hasn't done anything for this country. He hasn't done anything for the world. He's a joke. He hasn't done any one thing, for the people, the American people. Instead, he insults the American people. So that's why he needs to go, and his vice president needs to go as well, because he also hasn't done anything for this country, and she's also been sleeping behind the wheel. She hasn't done anything for this economy, and she says she's part of this administration, and every decision made, she said, I'm involved with this decision. And when she's questioned by media, what would you do different than President Biden? She said, I can't think of anything, but yet this country's in chaos. The whole world is in chaos. and she has nothing to say, and she's clueless. So why would somebody like us want somebody, a president, a commander-in-chief? Commander-in-chief supposed to lead the whole country and also lead the whole world, because everybody looks at us as leaders of the whole world. So that's why I endorse President Trump. I stand behind President Trump, and we'll all stand united to stop the war. And he's the one that is going to stop the war. We had him before as a president. He never created new wars. We had 2 wars at the time with in Afghanistan and Iraq, and both wars were started before him. And he tried to do everything he can to stop both wars and withdraw our troops from there. So I stand behind my decision to endorse President Trump, and thank you all.
Thank you.
I should also add that I also endorse President Trump for this election. I'm going to come now to Mariam Fawaz to speak about her position.
Hi, my name is Mariam Fawaz. I'm 19 years old, and I'm the daughter and granddaughter of immigrants. And today was the first time I got to vote in the presidential election. This was an incredibly hard decision that took constant time and research because there was a lot on the ballot this election. Specifically, the lives of hundreds of thousands of innocent lives across the Middle East, including my own family. I'm an American. I was born and raised here, but I'm also Lebanese. I'm a Lebanese who's never gotten to see the land in which my family was raised. I'm a Lebanese whose parents moved to America as small children to escape the war, which led to my family being scattered all across the world. And I'm a Lebanese who has to text my cousins overseas to see if they are still alive. So today, as a Lebanese American, I voted in the presidential election. I voted against genocide because as a Lebanese American, I had an obligation and a duty to hold the Biden-Harris administration accountable and to vote them out of office. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariam. I'll come now to Abdulrahman Barman to talk about his
مرحبا، مساء الخير. أنا بتكلم بالعربي. اسمي عبد الرحمن برمان، أنا محامي يمني. كنت محامي في اليمن، عملت في مجال حقوق الإنسان لسنوات طويلة. أنا أحمل الجنسية الأمريكية، شاركت في الانتخابات سواء كانت انتخابات بلدية أو سابقة في بعض الانتخابات الجزئية الكونغرس. في السابق شاركت مع الديمقراطيين وتلقيت اتصالات كثيرة في هذه الانتخابات يسألون لماذا هذه المرة لست نشطا، لكن أخبرتهم أنه سبب الحرب الإبادة الجماعية التي تحدث في غزة، وهم يتحدثون كأنهم لم يصنعوا شيء في هذه الحرب ولا دخل لهم، رغم أنهم شحنوا الشحنات الأسلحة وقتل الأطفال قطعوا أشلاء ومزقوا في غزة بدفعات السلاح التي دعم بها بايدن وإدارته إدارة نتنياهو. أنا أتيت من الشرق الأوسط. في الديمقراطيين يعني بشكل عام الإدارة الأمريكية، لكن الديمقراطيين بشكل خاص يعبثون في الشرق الأوسط ويديرون الحروب فيها. نحن نتمنى في حال فوز الرئيس ترامب، وأنا شخص مستقل، أن يحدث السلام في منطقة الشرق الأوسط، وأيضا أن يعم السلام في العالم. أمريكا يعني بكل وضوح نقول هي إما أن تصنع السلام أو تصنع الحرب. لذلك نحن نتطلع إلى دونالد ترامب، وإذا إن شاء الله إذا فاز وهو شخصية متحررة من أي ارتباطات سواء كان مع الدولة العميقة أو غيرها، أن يحدث شيئا في العالم وأن يوقف هذه الحروب التي يعني يموت الكثير من الناس، وأن يتوقف الحرب الإبادة في غزة وفي لبنان، وأيضا الحرب في اليمن وانتهاكات حقوق الإنسان في سوريا وفي العراق وفي السودان وفي مناطق كثيرة. شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you, Abdulrahman. And finally, we have Amin Hashmi to talk about his endorsement.
Thank you, Samra. Good evening. My name is Amin Hashmi. I belong to Pakistani community of Michigan. Yeah, I belong to Pakistani community of Michigan. I am here today to share why I am not supporting the current administration in this election and supporting President Trump. As part of the Pakistani community, we value leaders who prioritize peace and open dialogue. Over the past 1 year, we have seen policies under the Biden-Harris administration that have left us disheartened and disappointed. These policies have distanced us from our goals of peace and prosperity globally. Kamala Harris, Biden, lack of action in addressing international crisis, particularly those impacting Palestinians in Gaza, has been alarming. Despite overwhelming evidence that Israel's action aimed to decimate Gaza's population to a degree that can only be described as genocidal, Kamala Harris has remained silent, doing nothing to address or prevent the suffering. On the campaign trail, she has avoided open dialogue on these critical issues with Muslim Americans and Arab Americans in Michigan. And we have seen, on the other hand, President Trump came out to speak to Hamtramck and Dearborn, hang around with Muslims, and fielded all the questions that was in their mind. Therefore, I cannot in good conscience support someone who remains complicit in policies that contribute to suffering abroad. Complicity in genocide is a line that cannot be crossed, and it is why, regardless of the different candidates we might support, we are united in our stand against Harris and the Democratic leadership in this election. Our hope is to see a future that prioritizes peace and stands firmly against injustice, wherever it may occur. Unity in diversity, and I hope and pray President Trump will win with landslide. Thank you.
Thank you. On a final note, just to leave off, that we've already, as a community, already won by showing our political prowess and our political strength. We've already shown our red line. We've already shown, based on the early numbers that have come in, that we will not stand for genocide. We will not support genocide, and we will ensure that actions do have consequences. For that reason, I say that if Harris was to lose Michigan and the entire election, that you should blame Arabs and Muslims, whether it's the Pakistani community, the Lebanese community, the Yemeni community, the Christian Arab community, Palestinian community. We are the ones you need to blame. We want that credit. It is us who is causing your loss, and going forward, it is us who you will have to reckon with in terms of your policy. Thank you.
There's one question, please.
Yes.
I think you meet with Mr. Trump.
I did.
Yeah. So any specific proposal to him to stop war in Gaza and Lebanon?
So I can tell you when I met him, before I could even ask for the ceasefire, I asked them to come to Dearborn and speak to the community and tell them what they needed to hear. And he immediately said, yes, we need to stop the war. We need to stop the war now. And a rose by any other name is just as sweet to me. He essentially was saying, we need a ceasefire. Additionally, after several meetings with several of his top campaign officials, surrogates, and what have you, they indicated that within the first week in office, Trump was intending on essentially giving an ultimatum that no more bombs would be dropped on innocent civilians. So for that reason, it doesn't have to be a specific word or a specific policy. If somebody is telling us that they are going to stop the war on day one, for me, that is enough to save lives going forward, as opposed to the other individual who is saying the status quo will remain. I will continue funding Israel's right to defend itself against an unarmed civilian population.
Thank you.